I'm a big reader. I love how God has used others in my life with their writings. And so I want to be able to pass some of these things on that I've been learning and reading to you, even some classic books as just resources with different topics. And today I was reminded of this, of how powerful recommendations are, as I finally picked up a book that I was recommended by a couple other podcast leaders over and over again. I had to hear it a couple of times. And so I ordered it, I read through it, and I currently, it gave it to just a few other church leaders as we gathered last month for a missions conference because I was so blessed by it. And the book that I want to share with you today is this book right here. The book is called Liberating Ministry from the Success Syndrome by Kent and Barbara Hughes. Liberating Ministry from the Success Syndrome by Kent and Barbara Hughes. I'll put the link in the description so you know where to find it and what's it called. But man, this book was actually written in 1987. So it's an oldie and a goodie, right? It wasn't promotion of like the brand new book or this, that. It stood the test of time, and it talks a lot about what is success and how do you define success? What does God say? What does he think success is? I have a couple of quotes for you as I always read books and underline things and highlight things. They say when success in the ministry becomes the same as success in the world, the servant of God evaluates his success like a businessman or an athlete or a politician. And this is just such a solid quote because we have to make sure that when we're doing things of the Lord, we need to get his measure of success. We need to have him define things for us and be led by his Spirit, not only how we do ministry, but how he defines what ministry is, a biblical approach. They continue on, say, this other quote said, "There is no success apart from loving God." And I could honestly say this book made me love God more and his heart for me as a church leader, as a church planner, as someone pouring into other people. It just reminded me of God's love for me and what he demands of me, what he expects of me is a response, is faithfulness, is loving him in the work that I do unto him, unto worship. They continue to go and say the pursuit of holiness is essential if we are ever to know anything of real success. And so I was reminded of this. I want you to be reminded of this. Yes, this book was fire. And I have a whole 2-page, well, maybe even 3 pages of quotes that I can spout out right now, but I'm not going to do that because I have a Patreon page and you all can subscribe, join the Patreon page. I'm going to upload not only the book, but quotes that stood out to me in a PDF. You can actually read over and then tell me something that stood out to you. But one last quote before we end talking about this incredible book. They say servanthood yields success because in serving, we become more like Christ. I just love how they define success with biblical reminders. And so just to give you a preview of the book, not to ruin the book for you, listen to these chapter titles they have as definitions in this section of the book, part 2 of this book. Chapter 3 says success is faithfulness. Chapter 4 is on success is serving. 5 is success is loving. The next chapter says success is believing. Chapter 7 says success is prayer. Chapter 8 tells us that success is holiness. And chapter 9, they say that success is attitude. Just think about that in your own walk with the Lord, in your own service unto God. Do you define success as being faithful, serving Jesus, loving God and loving others, believing in God, having a great amount of faith in everything that you do, taking time for prayer, walking in holiness, and then having an attitude of one that believes God, trusts in God, and just, speaks life into the situation. And so, yes, it's been written years ago. 1987, this book was written, but it's full of relevant wisdom for today. And I hope this recommendation blesses you as you go and serve the Lord. Be reminded of what he says. It's so, so, so important. And so I'll put the link in the description. I'll put the quotes in the Patreon page, things that stood out to me. And I would just recommend you read this book and read it for yourself. Maybe I could be one of those podcast hosts that recommends amazing books and it affects your life as well. If so, let me know. I'd love to hear how it affect and change your life.